guys, it's Brush Plus Roller Painting, back again with another video. Today we're going to be doing some drywall repair here, and I'm going to be installing sheetrock. So thankfully the plumber, or the person that did the tile here, they did a pretty good job of cutting, you know, that opening pretty square. Some people just do all type of a mess. But so I've already taken measurements of it. It's 13 inches from the tile, but remember guys, when we're installing sheetrock, we want to leave at least a ½ inch gap in between the flooring, so if anything, you know, any water spills or any type of leak, the drywall won't be affected. So I'm gonna cut it at 12.5, which I already got my piece of drywall here. And then I'm going to do the same for this little corner here. And then we'll show you how we start to mud it, guys. So we got that one in place. Now I wanted to show you the smaller end right here, what I did. You can probably see it better at this angle. I cut it at an angle just because this wall is at an angle. And that piece of drywall in there is at an angle. So when I push it in, if it's not at an angle, it won't close correctly, even though they cut off this piece here. Now I'll put a piece of little corner drywall here, and it'll fit in a little bit better, guys. And this is what I was saying, I'll put this little corner bead right here. We're gonna have a piece of baseboard at the bottom, so it doesn't have to reach all the way down there. Just to get a little bit more flush and even this part out that's missing drywall. I won't have to cut all that out. Sounds good. We're gonna start drywalling now. Alright guys, so we got our mesh tape on there. I'm gonna use this stainless steel. We're just gonna apply it on there. You don't want to worry about getting it on there perfect the first time. It's kind of just a first coat. We'll probably put 2 or 3 coats on there. And one thing I want to say with your stainless steel products, make sure that they're nice and clean. Because you can have debris fall in there and you have a big issue there. So make sure they're nice and clean. What I like to do is I kind of like to fill in the gaps where I know it needs more mud at. Fill those gaps in. So the second and third coat could be a little bit easier. But like I said, first coat does not have to be perfect. But I will say it does help if you at least do it somewhat neat. Alright guys, so we're going to do the other side here. So what I'm going to do before placing this corner bead, I'm just going to kind of fill that with some mud there, just so I can have something to glue on to, hold on to, you know. Okay. You can lay it on there pretty generous, don't be afraid to. Kind of just, you know, set it in place. So we got that in there. More. Once again, this is the first coat, so it doesn't have to look pretty, but the neater it is, I will say, the easier it will be for your second coat. Put it there. Okie dokie. And then guys, I had to put a little bit of a mesh tape, just because in between the drywall and the new tile, it has a big gap. So try to make my life easier, I'm just gonna put a little, put this mesh tape in here, and I'm gonna fill it in with drywall for the first coat, so I can get it nice and uniform, and when I come back with the second coat, it'll look good. Okay, so I'm gonna get that done now, and I'll show you what it looks like afterward. Make our way down this line here, but something I wanted to mention as well. That piece up here, what we're gonna do, what I like to do is I like to prime it before I put any mudding on it, because that drywall fiber, it seems like when you just drywall over the top of it, a lot of times it'll puff up and it'll be a nightmare, so prime it first, let those fibers get nice and hard before you sand it. All right guys, so we got all the mudding done. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna force dry it. And I'm gonna force dry it with this Wagner heat gun. So I got it at the highest point, and I'm just gonna basically, not leave it in one spot, but continuously keep it moving. That way it can, dry nice and uniform. And if you leave it in one place, what will happen is it's gonna puff up, and we don't want that. So we're just gonna force dry it, nice even strokes, nice and consistent movement, and then we'll go ahead and force dry it so we can go ahead and give it the second coat. And most of the time the second coat already gives us good coverage. If we need to, we'll do a nice little skim coat after the second coat. Sounds good. We'll show you what that looks like here in a few. Alright guys, so we have force dried it now. Now we're gonna take a knife that's a little bit bigger, so when we come and mud it, it extends a little bit. And now we're gonna come through and just take off a little bit of this excess. And this second part, what you want to do is you want to leave the edges nice and smooth. So if you're like me, you don't want to sand, this is the best thing to do. Okay, so there we go. I like to lay it on there pretty heavy. Come in the edges, clean it up. And all those edges we don't have to sand, we just kind of have to smooth out the imperfection. Sounds good. Okay, finishing this one up. And here, because it's close to an edge, I'm gonna use my other knife if I can find it. Here we go. I'm gonna use a smaller one here. This side here. Now I'm just going to take my finger here, put pressure on this end, just so I can kind of smooth out that edge and I don't have to do too much sanding afterwards. The bottom edge doesn't matter, the baseboard is going to cover it, but you get the gist of it. Okay. Now this even smaller portion here, I'm gonna get my little 1-inch knife. Just kind of softly get in there. Not too much worry with that bottom portion, just because, like I said, it's gonna be covered with baseboard. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and start mudding this top portion as well. Give it a second coat, and then I'm gonna try to coat it all the way to the edge here. That way we don't have to do much sanding. It'll look nice and uniform. Guys, so I got a little ahead of y'all. I went on and placed the baseboards back on there, but everything is back sanded. So, like I said, try to, make it as neat as possible, and make those edges as thin as possible when you are passing your knife, so your sanding won't be as tough. So you can see I got the baseboards back on there. A really light sand. Put the crown molding back up. Just got to do the little touch up there. I didn't show the baseboard and the crown molding install just because this video was just more focused on, how to apply mud. Next time, leave comments below if you have any questions and subscribe to the page.